Nicely done there.
How's
yeah,
that?
that was on the nose, man.
Yeah.
All right,
Way
no
to go, Zarvox.
Yeah, well, no more. Anyway, I'm just all excited about the great new stuff we've got on today's show. Right?
Well,
That's all I'm
I am always excited. I cannot wait. In fact, as much as I love our romp and stomp and good tune here, it's probably so exciting that I would just
Cut it
as soon
short, I don't care.
No. I am not going to turn all.
I know. I'd be hearing from the maracas players.
I know
again.
they'd be going, yes. This
Hey.
is the maracas.
Hey, kids
What
out
the
there.
heck are you doing, boy?
Here we go. Let me hear it. Oh, they do. Listen to them there. Oh,
Oh,
You know
that
what?
just makes the hair on my arm stand up.
it
It's
reminds
so
me. It
good.
reminds me of the crickets that are causing the Havana syndrome. We're going to talk about that later. Crickets.
Crickets. Did you say crickets?
I know that when they were talking about where are these people, that should be saying certain things in Congress, they say all we hear is crickets, and I'm thinking, oh, that could be part of the Havana syndrome. We're going to get to that.
Say what?
Say, I'm going to let you direct people to Radio Science News
I would be delighted. Hey,
and the launch pad, and you get them there, and we're going to take
I
off,
will,
and
I
we're going to
will.
crash through so many things you won't believe it.
Crash. That
What?
sounds like fun. Hey, you folks have tuned into Radio Science News. This is October 2nd, 2021. This is episode number 806 in a series. Any number that ends in 6 is, of course, not a prime number. The factors for you prime number fans out there are 2, 13, and 31.
Wait, 13 and 31, like right
I
there.
know. It's
flipped
just
over
like
in a-
doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Wow, that's
No,
pretty good.
It's just math. So
It is.
it's all math actually. So we're going to get you to the Launchpad of Science. If you go to www.smartcenter.org. Oh, and if you're driving, please pull over or please allow you to be doing this handless,
No,
so
don't
that
trust that.
so that your hands are on the wheel. And if your car is driving yourself, I'd still pull over just because
Yeah.
this.
We know the laws of physics.
I certainly do. Things smack into each other, and so sometimes it's bad.
It is.
So if you go to www.smartcenter.org, smartcenter.org, that takes you to the launch pad of the Smart Center. And if you then look down, you'll see the
see
Radio Science News triplicate trifecta rainbows there. I just love that.
We could
It's
make those
so
into some of
beautiful.
those beer coolers that people like so much. Wouldn't that be a
So
good idea?
what would I do with that?
You'd give it to some of
I'd
your
give it to somebody.
relatives. In my case.
Yeah, I'd probably give it to all of them. Yes.
there you go.
Okay, and so if you click on the words Radio Science News just above the little trifecta rainbow T-shirts there, that takes you. Ooh, my internet must be
Oh, it's fast.
snaking today.
Nice.
Just whipped right in there. We've got COVID pill, which we talked about this many dozens of months ago. That gee, wouldn't it be nice just to have a pill that you could
Yeah.
pop into your mouth, or
Well, and they're
or
working
a
on it.
cube of sugar or something like that you could pop in, and so now they're talking about this. Pyrograph.
Pyrograph.
Oh,
Now, see, that
that's
should sound
interesting.
familiar to you because
It
you and I
does
have
sound
dealt
familiar.
with the folks at Pyrograph when we did a science project in, I don't know, 2004 or 2006.
That was a long time ago.
And now they're catching up.
Blast
with
from the past.
They're catching up with our science. Yeah, I have the Pyrograph, kind of the company page, and then they have a Facebook page
and
too.
then they have a Facebook page. Okay.
And we have a fellow working there who we have some wonderful history with.
Yeah.
He was a little cranky about this because he had to, give up some time with his equipment to crush some concrete samples down at WVU.
Aw.
But now he's moved on to this company, Applied Sciences.
Very cool.
And, hopefully we're going to have some conversation. And then there's
Unbreakable
Unbreakable Glass.
Now, love it. Let me tell you,
there's no
years
such
and
thing as
years ago, I was a small child, and a younger brother was probably at the time maybe 4 or 5, and we were in a store,
Yeah.
and there was this advertisement for Magical Corningware, Unbreakable. My brother walks over, grabs a plate, slams it down, and just shatters it all over the place. Picks up another plate, smacks it down again, shatters it
I know
everywhere.
you have to replicate your experiments. I know
And
that.
by the time he got to the third plate, my mom grabbed him,
Well, yeah.
and she goes, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "It says it's unbreakable."
I like his style. No.
And so, of course, it all breaks loose. And there's people running and screaming at us and and they're going, "What are you doing?" And my brother just goes,
Yeah.
"Says it's unbreakable." So so there's a corner on this table, and I just smacked it down just to see what. And they're going, "You can't do that." He goes, "Well, then don't tell me it's unbreakable."
Well, fair enough. And I'll tell you
Yeah,
what, this
it's-
is different though. You'll think more highly of this unbreakable.
Unbreakable glass.
Okay, and Robert, I know that you've been out there
X37B.
looking to the sky for the X-37B. I'm wondering if it's even visible.
I don't know. Well,
I don't know. Do you remember
will find out.
Do you remember the I guess it was the X-Files series when there were like 2 space shuttles, or maybe there was a movie too about that. But the idea is that this little thing, I don't want to say flying under the radar, over the radar, but
How big is it?
well, I'm thinking it's sort
trying
of
to think.
space shuttle-y
Yeah,
kind of thing.
space shuttle, but maybe
it's a space plane, right?
Yeah, I think it's like a smaller version of the space shuttle.
Oh, man.
So if it's now the space shuttle was easily visible with the unaided eye
Well, yeah.
when it was in orbit. So if this, let's say this is half the size, then it might be 1.5 magnitudes
Well.
slightly different. But the space shuttle was painted white.
Nice and warm.
Now, if these people decided to paint theirs, I don't know, gray or black,
or even-
or really dark blue, which is what I would be doing if I had a space plane and I didn't want people watching
I
it.
want some racing stripes on it.
Oh, racing stripes! Now
So
that
well,
would be nice.
that's going to be good. Now, there's a little thing about Mars, and kind of one of the
Mars
reasons.
and Mercury.
Well, and there's a mission to Mercury. We were just talking about how Radio Science News had surpassed. I think last week you mentioned how many
64
Mercury
years.
64 years. of
Yes,
Mercury.
last year. I mean, last
man.
week. We had been on the air for Radio Science News 64 Mercury years.
Wow.
I'm
okay,
telling
now
you, I'm certainly feeling old.
another piece of exciting stuff.
Triple.
They've always known that there could be multiple planets in multiple star systems, but now it looks like we may have best evidence for that.
Well, that's cool.
Well, and the story about the Havana syndrome that I was going to get last week, I've updated it because a couple things happened there. And then if we have time, I'm telling you, I think we have so many topics. We may never get to the little microflyers and the little Shigella
Shigella.
bacteria and the snakes and the vampires and the
Snakes
bats.
and the vampire bats. Oh, baby.
Well, and the chart is there too, but I'm going to say, well, let's because it has been sort of tradition over these weeks of the emerging Delta variant of COVID. Let's take a quick look at which I think is an excellent, the COVID CDC.gov COVID data tracker is really, it's just replete with excellent information. And what we have been doing, we can tell you that if you need more stuff specific to your state or about the which variants are of concern, there's so much here. The trends in vaccination. Some really good stuff about vaccination among pregnant people. There's some new information out about how important it is for people to, if they are pregnant, to get vaccinated. There's a lot of stuff here, and please take time to look at it, especially things specific to you or your state. There's just so much good information, and I'm going to say it's laid out. It's nice chunk.
Yeah.
You can look at it. Vaccination equity, all kinds of other stuff. So, but we have been looking kind of at just the very top line, where it has the United States at a glance, which I think is well done. Like for example, there's a thing that if you look to the way to the right, you see the community transmission. Oh my, it's not so good because.
And it says it's high.
And you know what's interesting? And I'm just going to point out one of the quick stories this past week that I didn't include. They show the state of California lower.
This appears to be improving a little
Well,
bit.
it's lower, but part of what they were showing was that if you were to take two states, for example, California versus Florida, that the outcomes are massively different, and it's a clear indication of what you might want to do. But up at the top, so the cases total, if you look at that, you can click on it, and I think it takes you to a bigger chart. But by just looking at it, you know that the cases in total
Appear to
of
be
the last
coming down a
30
little
days,
bit.
and when they say cases total, and that
Yeah.
last 30 days means that they're taking it 30-day chunks because,
Right.
you know, cases total would obviously go up
Right.
if you weren't talking about that. But it's definitely on a downtrend. Now, the deaths, it's kind of flat to maybe a little bit elevated because
Yeah.
that's a lagging indicator from all the other things.
Yes, it is.
Something that may be pretty good give us some hope is that we are close to almost a 76% of the people over 12. But again, that piece of information says, hey, we're not including
Has
the
at
children
least
yet.
one vaccination.
Anyway, so there's a lot of great stuff
That's good.
here, but I want to jump back to let's jump back to the Launchpad of Science, where you will see, having been on the far right side of our list of topics, there's the COVID pill.
Alrighty.
So, it's always nice to, if we're going to talk about COVID, let's at least have a big chunk of good information. This is brand new. Merck just now announced.
This has been really hot news just the last couple days.
And I will say that this is from Merck, but there are several other entities working on similar and then some other antibody things. We've been talking about things for, gosh, I mean, 6 months ago, we talked about the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, who was working on a thing that delivered the antibodies, and it was in such a small deliverable thing that it could literally be inhaled.
Yes.
We were like, oh, couldn't we just, let's sniff this one out? And-
Yeah.
So but let's just talk about this story because it's talking about Merck announcing a COVID-19 pill that literally cuts the risk of death and hospitalization by like 50%. It cuts it in half.
It says in a potential leap forward in the global fight against the pandemic, drug maker Merck said Friday that its experimental pill for people sick with COVID-19 reduced hospitalizations and deaths by half, as you said. So this is, if you become ill,
Yeah.
there is a pill that might be a good thing for you.
Well,
which
and
is
I mean,
just
the
fabulous.
initial data looks really good, and it's probably this and other things. There may even be better things, but look through this, folks, and you'll it gives you a whole bunch of stuff about their partner, Ridgeback Biotherapeutics, and the name of the product is Molnupiravir. The thing that I wish they would could they just come up with a simple,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times they try to have a nomenclature that gives
Yeah.
you a sense of, like what it was derived from and what it affects. But, because if it's a VIR at the end, it's an antiviral thing.
Right.
But
So it says patients take
Piravir.
4 pills of this twice a day for 5
Molnupiravir.
days. Side effects were reported by both groups in the Merck trial, but they were slightly more common among those who received a tummy pill.
yeah,
That's
so,
interesting.
So just slightly worse than any placebo. And when they talk about
Yeah.
side effects, a lot of the things are simple things like I felt a little. The big side effect that you don't want is death.
Death.
So
You do not want to die. Yep.
anyway, this is a
Wow.
This is a whole big thing that the article explains that it works by interfering with the virus's ability to copy its genetic code and reproduce. So
Oh.
they've, real cool information here.
At the very bottom says this story has been updated to correct that patients take 8 pills per day, not 2.
Well, I'm not going to do it then.
No, forget it.
No, that's fine. The
Of course you're going to take 8. I don't care. Yeah.
pretend they're in fact, make them as in the shape of M&Ms with chocolate. I'll take them.
A candy coating. Now we're talking.
Melts in
Yep.
your mouth, not in your hand. Now, the other thing that is worth looking at, noting, is that that Pfizer and Roche, and there are multiple others, are literally talking about similar drugs
Yeah.
and data that will come out in just weeks and months. The reason why this
Great
is such a
idea.
big story, Robert, is because last last week we were looking at, well, what is that? We're trying to figure out vaccination. We had the story about the latest patch that was coming out, and the story did say, I'm going to actually go back to the Launchpad of Science, and I'm going to ask people that if you missed
You
last
need
go
to
look
read
at the
this.
patch, because this is a culmination of many discussions we've had here
Yes.
on the various patches.
And well written too.
And it gives you all the reasons about the fact that it's tenfold more effective, and that in producing T cells is like 50 times better.
50 times better.
And we were talking about that. So we at that time said, wow, this could mean a lot to the nearly 8 billion people on the planet.
There's a lot of people.
And if all of a sudden we know that there's something that's easily administered, like a simple pill regimen,
Yep.
as opposed to shipping our mRNA vaccines to countries all over the world, this is really good news.
If this can save a half of the lives, that's amazing.
is.
So if you want to go to the patch, listeners, if you go to Saturday, September 25th, 2021, it's the second link from the left.
And in fact, I recommend that you please do that. If
Please read that.
If you didn't
It's
see it last week.
Just awesome.
All right, so Robert, these pyrograph guys, man. And like I said, we have some history with one of the people that works there now, so I'm really excited. Come on, pyrograph. Oh, it's loading.
You can load it.
Applied Sciences patented pyrograph products, and it's in huge type. Is yours? Mine's coming up huge. That says, okay, the company is
that is
actually
big type.
Applied Sciences, which is really funny because at the time that we were talking to Elliott Kennel back in their days, it was the little company that was up in a garage up on the lane called Applied Technologies. Do you remember that?
Yep, I do.
Applied Technologies Corporation, which was trying to get the state of West Virginia to manufacture high value added carbon products like carbon fiber, composites and stuff like that.
So you're saying that rather than just burn the coal, that we could use it for something else?
Yeah, I'm saying that. That's
Wouldn't
that's
that be a
So,
concept?
so the one thing that we have advocated for a long time, because Robert and we had a wonderful student, Bridget Kane, who was asking about doing a materials science
when was that?
project.
That was
Well,
2000.
it's all-
That was 19.
Well, her project, because we had that font. Remember, we made the trilobite thing. It was like 2000 something, just right around it.
Yeah, okay.
We had just survived, the giant computer collapse of. Oh, yeah, no, that didn't happen. Excuse me.
That's right.
But anyway, so we actually did a Bridget Kane, and who knows, she might be listening right now. She did a science project where took a very simple thing where she took plain Portland cement and added maybe 1% or 2% or 5% or 10% of the product that these people make. At that time, Pyrograph 3 is it's a vapor-grown carbon fiber process. Now, it's not nanotubes, but it's carbon fiber. And we added it to this, and she sent it to, went to WVU, where Elliott Kennel, who now works for this company, was working with Stiller and Zonlo, the folks who were coming up with all sorts of wonderful products, high value added products from coal.
Yeah.
And they had come up with using the pitch to make all these carbon fibers. It had all grown out of their original grant to make nuclear grade graphite. And then in doing that,
From coal,
which they did, and they had, in the same time, figured out, they could make a wonderful product from coal, carbon foam, which they actually, they invented that, Robert.
I know they did.
So,
even though there are an enormous number of people that think they didn't.
well, they did, and so. Anyway, Elliott Kennel helped out with that thing, and now this is the company he's working with. Like I said, Applied Sciences, and they're in Cedar. They're in Ohio. They're just right next door. So scroll down. You have the Pyrograph 3 is a perfectly dispersed carbon nanofiber. Now, a nanofiber is not a nanotube, but
it is extremely small.
it's actually fine, because that's fine. Created for the aerospace industry using Applied Sciences proprietary technology to achieve superior performance.
That's right.
Okay, then so here's the whole thing. Now
it has many applications.
Now, I think if you scroll, it actually just takes you down to the things we've been talking about: nano composite polymers, In fact, I'm going to go back and let's jump to the link. Before we do, you'll notice that the P3 diameters 70 to 200 nanometers.
That's pretty teensy.
But it can be in lengths of 100 plus microns.
Right.
Which is what
That's huge.
it's really good, because what you want is something that will bind across and distribute forces across, some. Now let's click on the applications real quick, because I want to see here we go. Nanomaterials can disrupt markets. Oh, we can't do that. Oh no, we want to do that.
We want to do that.
So endless possible. Oh, there's aerospace,
Defense,
adventure. Well,
That
who
person-
cares about aerospace or wait a minute.
Automotive?
I'm going to go to the one because you and I were talking about it, and I said, for crying out loud, why doesn't West Virginia have a giant factory making this and have somebody on the phone to say, for example, Elon Musk or maybe Ford or maybe whoever, because all of
and
your
just say, wouldn't it be nice if?
all the auto body chassis
Mm-hmm.
and all the football helmets and everything that you now make out of this, here's what they say: Applied Sciences works with customers at all levels of the automotive supply chain to develop the next generation of advanced materials for automotive applications.
There you go.
We found opportunities to add carbon nanofibers to strengthen. I didn't even catch all this. Not only car tires, lightweight
fenders and more.
and more, like the whole body. I mean,
Wouldn't that be awesome?
anyway, I'm just saying.
You could probably even put it in the glass,
You could, yeah.
and the glass would improve because it wouldn't break as easy.
Well, better
there's
than
all
the
kinds
unbreakable
of-
glass we're going to talk about.
Probably better than the unbreakable glass, because these things are so small you wouldn't even optically see them.
Oh, so wait a minute. I know what you're trying to do, Robert. You're trying to put all those companies that tint your windows and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Now, here's the other thing about the fact that they could be put in glass, that if they are put at a certain level in any material, whether it's, let's say it's concrete.
Let's say it's
like we
concrete,
talked about
like we
originally.
did
And then, as we said to them, we call it
decades
nano.
ago.
We said to them, we're going to call it nanocrete, and they said, oh yeah, that's what we were going to call it. Anyway.
Amazing.
If you had, let's say, Robert, you have your little sidewalk made of nanocrete,
Wouldn't that be nice?
and it's at a level that's maybe, because we did like a 10% level and
Yeah.
it was just gray, but you put more in. For one thing, it would absorb some sunlight and would probably
It would.
But you know what? At certain very low levels, it actually is electroconductive. You could actually run a current through it and even just heat
Probably.
up your sidewalk or
In fact-
your highway.
In fact, because it runs an electrical current, you could probably embed, get this, little solar panels in it,
You could do that.
and
could do
then
all
you
this
could
crazy
actually have your sidewalk generating electricity.
Well, now you're just going way off.
I know, now I'm just completely bonkers.
No. This is stuff that was just actually obvious to, like, as I say, a high school student at the time. When we talked, all this stuff was, well, what could you do with this? And if it turns out it's conductive, you could also find out if there was, I don't know, if you had it in a bridge and all of a sudden the conductivity changed, you could say, you know what, I think there must be a fracture somewhere in the bridge, even though it would be less likely.
Something must have happened
Yeah.
to change the electrical conductivity of the bridge.
So, there you go. Anyway, we're going to look into this Pyrograph 3, and I'm going to say specifically, for folks here in the Wheeling area, that our good friend Scott Ludoff, who has been working diligently.
I saw him just today. In fact,
Yeah.
thank you for reminding me of him. Until 1 o'clock today,
Yeah.
there is at St. Michael's Church area.
Oh, yeah.
You can drop off any of your electronics. We dropped off 2 dead fans, a old TV set, and a microwave that had stopped working. And so they were thrilled to death. It didn't cost us a cent, and they are going to recycle it for us.
Very nice. Well, Scott,
Don't you love
Scott
that?
Ludoff has been doing things with Scrappy Pappies for a long time. The thing he is now, I'm working with him to try to make it happen. Robert is
great
too,
guy.
because I see you actually have some of his products
We
here
do
at the
indeed.
Smart Center when they
Yep.
things crank back up. But the big thing that he's looking at doing is using recycled materials for manufacturing. Well,
Yes.
what a great idea! Now the thing that he is looking at is products and ways of improving it. He's talking to somebody who is an asphalt contractor with the idea of using recycled glass, recycled plastic, as ways of making a far better formula, such as the Canadians have been using for years, Robert.
Yep.
What a surprise. People up in Canada, where they really have snow and cold weather,
Canadian.
have come up with a formula to make an improved asphalt, and all it basically does is they're using plastics and in some cases the glasses. So anyway, that's one of the things he's working on. One of the possibilities would be that if you're recycling the plastic to remanufacture, you could, as it says clearly on the pyrograph pages, Robert, you could include the nanotechnologies for that. So I have the link to their Facebook page, but we're not going to jump to that right now. You guys can. I'm going to wait till Facebook behaves better before I do anything for them.
I saw something interesting.
Yeah.
I got a new iPhone 11.
Holy moly! Look
And
at
I
that.
have been having such a good time with this. This is my first iPhone.
Are you like texting your friends and downloading?
No. I am not texting anybody. I could care less
Are
about
you like
that.
playing Candy Crush? And
No games. What I love though is Google Earth.
Oh yeah, it's
And
fabulous.
I've got
on
now
there.
Google Earth in my hands. I used to have it on my laptop. I still do. But I just want to show you something interesting. I was zooming around looking for a few things.
Yeah.
And
meteor craters.
well, yes, but if you go, let's see, this is Los Angeles. If you go to Los Angeles,
I've been there,
55 miles north
Yeah.
of Los Angeles is like this area where there's just sand and nothing, right?
Oh, I know what
and
that
so
is.
I was zooming around in this, and I saw this little round green
Say what?
thing. Okay, so about 55 miles. And I saw this little thing, and I said, okay, that's a half mile across.
Wow.
This is a circular out in the sand and rock and scrub. They're growing food. But then I'm going, what are all these things around it?
Oh, I see what it is.
You
now.
know what these are?
Yeah.
This is a half mile on a side solar panel
Look at that.
plant. If you folks if you do this, get on your Google Earth, find the middle of LA, go 55 miles north, and you'll see this little triangular piece of just gray and you know, rock and scrub. And then start looking around, you'll see there are solar power
Yeah.
plants
All over the place.
everywhere.
Oh, Robert, that's just not,
Everywhere.
you know that's just not practical.
There are square miles of this stuff. And remember, not that long ago, if you were to talk to the coal and the oil and natural gas, oh, that's so impractical. That will never work. No one would, you know, it's going to be so expensive. And well, it might be so expensive, but what do you think is powering Los Angeles right now?
Well, yeah, they're really on the. I was thinking
Look
you were
at the size of these things. Each of these squares is a half mile on a side. Do you see the scale of
Yeah.
what we're looking at?
Well, the only thing that would be better is if you could actually just live on that land. It was on your roof, or that they had whole.
I know, but
they're
being
thinking
that-
of all that.
But being that this is out in the middle of nothing,
Yeah.
and to be able to grow something there, you have to bring in water and fertilizer and, you know, on and on and on and on. And what these people are doing is they're saying, hey, what if
What if I want to
just
farm
started
something else?
growing?
I'm going to harvest the
Electricity.
which is what they're doing.
So
Yeah, I have seen
these
several
are
of those.
solar farms, folks, that are half a mile on a side. Wow. And there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
It blew me away, and I thought I need to share this with my Radio Science news friends. So when people are going, oh, you know, that solar stuff, that's not working. No.
Yeah, it's
That's
working.
what they want you to think. This is astounding. These solar farms are all over the place, and they're growing like weeds.
Yeah, and if you drive from Phoenix, Arizona to California, or you know, Los Angeles to Phoenix, Arizona,
Yep.
there are multiple places where you look off in the distance, and it's like a not only on a flat surface, but on the side of like a mountain range or
Yep.
something where. And I got to tell you, the places, the amount of shade that people go, well, you're changing things. Oh yeah, you're changing things so that less water evaporates and more
You certainly
stuff
are.
lives
Yes.
around them. And
Well, that's exactly what I was telling Libby. I said, being that these things are at an angle, when it rains, what happens to the rain? It hits these, runs off, drips. Half of it drips in the shade, half of it goes in the sun. The part that goes in the sun probably evaporates. The part that goes in the shade might actually regenerate the groundwater.
Well, yeah, it is. That's what's happening, and especially
So-
if the arrays are such that there's almost the drip is all being captured basically,
Right.
with very little evaporating.
So isn't that fantastic? So folks, we're for decades we've been pumping water out of the ground in these areas
Yeah.
and making it worse. These solar panels are actually putting the water back into the ground.
Yeah. Well, and the thing, this
I
is
just
all.
I'm just astounded at how cool that this is.
Well, I think the other kind of real basic concept that some people have well understood, and some have ignored, and some have actually, put out misinformation about, is the fact that when we're looking at, for example, President Biden's whole thing about building back better,
Yeah.
and the fact that you're going to spend a certain amount of money, and then, like I said, we were talking before the show about, well, if your analysis is only about what you spend and you don't include in your analysis how much you save, then you have a pretty bad analysis to begin with. But in the case of this type thing, if you're looking at a situation where you're considering habitability, or you're considering wildlife, or you're
Right.
considering replenishing the aquifer,
Right.
on and on and on, the simplest example I can give you is I know people in Phoenix, Arizona, who pay a fortune to live there because they need the air conditioning.
Right.
The huge amount. So
where do you get that power?
well, and the other thing would be, even if you decided that, okay, I don't even want to put the panels right. If you took any typical little casita, some small little building in Phoenix, Arizona, and you just put the solar panels over top of it, so
On
it
the
actually
roof.
shaded the building.
So it caused shade. Exactly.
So I mean, you could even have it separated so there was an airflow between the hot solar panels. You actually shaded the building and then used the electricity for
Right.
whatever extra air conditioning you
I know.
needed. And as our friend used to say, Fred,
and then you're done.
You're done. So,
And then you're done.
well, anyway, it is wonderful to see that, and I'm just saying, people need to. I want to say, just look at how it's so logical and so simple as
Yep.
as you pointed out. Just like you're saying, hey, look, what if people have advocated before? What if you could literally build highways with the photovoltaic system
Right
as
in there.
part of the pavement, which you could do.
Right.
Of course, everything costs, and somebody might go, "Oh my gosh, that costs too much." But then you go, "Well, it not only makes the road stronger, but it pays for itself in like 4.5 months, and you're done."
Right.
Well, let's take a quick look at the unbreakable glass,
Let's
because
do that.
just in honor of your brother and his, I'm just going to say,
Isn't that a great
I
story?
commend his youthful approach to research.
Hooking stuff everywhere.
The thing I like about this is I almost can't resist. Okay, basically I'm a biologist and I usually root for nature. Like nature, what is nature going to do?
Root for nature. What a
I'm
great
all for-
phrase.
because we always find high-tech concepts that are taken straight from nature.
Yeah,
So
so this is Unbreakable Glass inspired by seashells.
yeah.
From McGill University. I don't know McGill. I don't know where that is. Scientists developed stronger and tougher glass inspired by the inner layer of mollusk shells. Instead of shattering upon impact, the new material has the resiliency of plastic and could be used to improve cell phone screens in the future,
Come on.
among other applications.
Yeah, now there's a good one, but hey, because that's one people understand. Oh, my
Yeah,
cell
oh
phone.
my God, I just dropped my cell phone.
Because
Yeah.
glass shatters. Okay, now there's a lot of stuff in here. Part of what they're talking about is, I'm going to go down to nature as master of design. Drawing inspiration from nature, the scientists created a new glass. Now here it is. It's basically an acrylic composite that mimics the nacre. Like when they put NACRE is like mother of pearl. And I think, oh, holy mother of pearl. Somebody said that just yesterday. Studying the structure of biological materials and understanding how they work offers inspiration and sometimes even blueprints for new materials.
Even blueprints.
And we've called this biomimetic.
If you are aware enough over the vast journey of time, lots of things have been tried, and those that work best are then carried on.
Yeah, so when you're talking about hundreds of millions of years of like sea-like creatures, so here's what it says: it's made of stiff pieces of chalk-like matter. Okay, so we're probably talking about calcium carbonate or anything that you see, limestone. Here's the thing: so they have this really hard calcium chalk-like material layered with soft proteins. So this is a biological system where they have soft proteins that are highly elastic, and it says structure produces exceptional strength, making it 3,000 times tougher than any of the materials that are made of it. Like if you just took
gotta be kidding.
If you just took the chalk and snapped it, or if you took a whole bunch of these squishy proteins, you could probably just mush them apart.
So this is a layered composite.
Yeah. Now here's the part that made me sit up and take notice. So we were just talking. I'm just talking with Scott Ludoff about using glass material and plastic together, because some people have done it, and it's an amazingly strong thing. And he's already made these materials, but it said they took layers of glass flakes and acrylic, very common material, yielding an exceptionally strong yet opaque material. Now that was cool, right?
Right.
But go down in a couple sentences where you get to by tuning. I'll let you read that one.
Where? Show me.
By tuning the.
I just lost it. Okay. So it says by tuning the refractive index of the acrylic, we made it seamlessly bend with the glass to make a truly transparent composite. So is what the new bendable phones are that I'm seeing?
It may be part of it, but the thing that's amazing about it is that they just changed the refractive index so that there was no it became transparent.
Right.
So it's plastic and it's glass and it's transparent, and they can change all kinds of things. Now the other thing about this story that I just want to say is it makes me worry about all kinds of great scientists that are working on things, because it says flexible glass is supposedly a lost invention from the time of the reign of Emperor Tiberius Caesar.
Yeah, and you're going. So they had flexible glass at that point, and then somehow there was only a few people that knew about it, and they died in a plague.
No, I'm going to tell you somehow. It says that supposedly the guy who invented this material brought a drinking bowl made of the material to the emperor, when the bowl was put to the test to break it, it only dented instead of shattering. Here's the part where I want to say you might want to take this as a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
I'll let you read that.
After the inventor swore he was the only person who knew how to produce the material, Tiberius had the man executed, fearing that the glass would devalue gold and silver because it might be more valuable.
Yeah.
So are you positive that you're the only one that knows this?
Sure?
Are you sure?
Well, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So.
So he was worried that this was such an important scientific find that he killed the inventor that his gold and silver would not be devalued.
Well, there you go. See the point of this is
my jaw is just
wow. And as Professor Ehrlicher says, when I think about the story of Tiberius, I'm glad that our material innovation. He says, I'm glad that our material innovation leads to publication rather than execution. Now, well, just don't get too comfortable there, Professor Ehrlicher.
Don't answer the phone.
Well, but anyway, it just worries me a little bit, because you and I have looked at several interesting innovations and technologies that have sort of been shelved or gone to the side. So, I just liked a whole bunch of the stuff that was in this, especially as it could be applied to literally like I say, somebody right here in our own neighborhood, Scott Ludoff, who's working on this kind of stuff using recycled plastic or recycled glass that maybe is processed into a shape or into fibers, and then using it with just common Portland cement or recycled plastics
So the
to make
reason
materials.
that we, up until the present day, did not have unbreakable glass was that the inventor was killed because it was
Probably.
too important of a discovery.
Well, like I said, there's an overall cautionary
Wow.
tale, because I could even imagine a whole bunch of like glass makers in Italy going, "What do you mean? Is our glass doesn't break? People don't have to replace it?"
That's right.
You know, maybe because everybody goes, "Well, yeah, you're going to break a bowl or two, but we can always replace it for you."
And then you could give me the broken glass and I could
I can
redo
remount
it
There you go.
at a price.
Well,
yeah.
let's take a look at the
Oh, my.
X37B.
Let's do that. Dun, dun, dun.
So listen, the thing
I
is,
wish I had an X37.
well, and supposedly this is an image that from Boeing. This is what it is, very much like, well, as they call it, the enigmatic X-37B robotic space drone. Now look at it's chalked up more than 500 days. I thought it was even more than that, but oh, Robert, this is part of the Space Force.
Okay, I am going to have to read yours because
not
my
yours isn't popping
yeah
up?
my computer's not
Well,
letting me.
it's found your computer and jammed it. Before
Yeah,
I get
that's
there.
what happened.
Computer.
So is it going to give us a size for this thing?
Well, I'm looking at it. I'm going to tell you, looking at it right now, it has to be. It's not that much smaller than the space station. Look at this. The orbital test is also called the OTV-6. It's also called the USSF-7 because they had to change it for the Space Force.
The LMNOP.
The LMNOPQ. Okay, here's a picture of it launching. Okay, it's on top. It's Robert. It's fairly big.
It's fairly big. Yep. But see, I don't think it needs to be as big as a.
Okay, here it is right here. The U.S. Air Force X-37B is shown here. 2009 photo at Vandenberg Air Force Base.
2009 photo. That was a while back.
Yeah. Let's see. So, wow. So, I mean, the picture of it shows that Robert, it is probably, I'm going to say it actually has a heftier profile, like it's a big, what's inside that big thing, Robert? Who knows?
Okay.
Here's some people scanning by it.
I just did a Google search, X-37B versus Space Shuttle. The X-37B is just 29 feet, 8.8 meters long with a wingspan of 15 feet, 4.6 meters. The now retired Space Shuttle orbiter, by contrast, was 122 feet long,
right, so yeah,
37 meters long, and measured more than 78 feet, 24 meters from wingtip to wingtip.
So it's significantly smaller.
So yes, it's
harder.
a much smaller thing. I'm going
to point out.
I thought so.
I'm
All
going
right,
to point out something else to you from this picture. If you look at see my technician standing by it.
I do.
I've just noticed that for whatever reason,
It's black.
it's completely, the bottom of it is like non-reflective material, probably
Well,
non-radar
That's
material.
that's the heat shield. So yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, sure. That's what you say.
Alrighty. Anyway, this particular link that we have has got a whole bunch of explanation about it, but I'm just a lot of people are just going, so why is this thing up in space?
All right, so this is 4.2 times a shorter length,
Yeah.
or it's about 24% the size of the shuttle, and the reason is that it carries people, not necessarily
That's right. It doesn't
large
have
objects.
to have. It's well, and this being a drone, this is when the robots are flying everything. It'll be lower. It's a low Earth orbit, 150. It's anyway. The Boeing fact sheet just tells
Yeah.
you what it's designed to do, but it doesn't tell you what it's really doing. That's the. It says here, Robert, that it supports space domain awareness by conducting space-based battle space. It's battle space characterization. Have you used that term lately? I've not.
I
used
don't
that.
ever use that term.
But you're going to have to, because it says battle space characterization operations.
Okay, so
there it is.
if you can visualize the size of the now retired space shuttle, this is between a quarter to a fifth of the size.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, the X-37, and of course the big deal is that it has been in orbit for that 500 plus days. It just passed that. So, hey,
That's cool.
very interesting. I don't know. So we'll have to watch that. Now, Robert, we have a couple little planetary things right here in a row. I think you'll enjoy.
Mars.
Well, of course, they're criticizing Mars again.
Oh.
They're saying size does matter. According to the isotope study.
Mars habitability limited by its small size, isotope study suggests.
Well,
Oh.
well, but
so
there-
it says researchers measure the potassium isotope composition of Martian meteorites in order to estimate the presence, distribution, and abundance of volatile elements and compounds, including water on Mars, finding that Mars has lost more potassium than Earth, but retained more potassium than the Moon or the asteroid Vesta. Well, that makes sense because the Moon is about 8 times less massive than Mars, and Mars is about 10 times less massive than the Earth.
Right.
So the Earth would have more volatiles, Mars would have fewer, the Moon would have less.
11:45.
Okay, that makes
yeah.
perfect sense.
So in the last sense of this, they're basically, they're coming up with a concept that what they're basically saying is that there's not going to be enough because of the size threshold. It can't retain enough water to enable habitability and plate tectonics. And not that those aren't things that you couldn't overcome other ways, but so I hope this doesn't hurt and make Elon Musk, decide not to
Actually,
keep talking about going.
it's going to anger him, but it reinforces what I've been
Yeah.
saying for the longest time is that Mars is unfortunately just too small. It's just not the world that we need. Now, if we could figure out how to terraform the second planet, Venus, that would be a different matter because it's a pretty big planet. But Mars is a small world. It really is. It's 50.
And this Professor Wang says they go into talk about that limited size range. Wang now thinks that for planets that are within habitable zones, planetary size probably should be more emphasized and considered when thinking about whether it could support life. And I think that's just as you said. It's one of the parameters that we need to be looking at. So very
Yep.
cool.
Very cool.
All right, that's planet.
really
That's our
fascinating.
Planet Story 1, Mars. Now this is
Planet
exciting
Story
to me
2, Mercury.
because I did not know this, that there is a cooperative effort that's going on right now between Europe and Japan. A joint European-Japanese spacecraft is set to fly by Mercury for the first time late Friday. That was just
on
like
its path to deliver 2 probes into the planet's orbit
that is. It's going to
in 2025. Good.
it's going to fly by on Friday, and it's not going to deliver their probes until 2025. That's interesting.
So yeah, I'm not sure
Oh,
what
so
that
maybe
means.
is it a flyby? Oh, here it is.
Part of
it
they're doing
is
a multiple flyby.
this is really cool.
Well-
We always talk about using the slingshot effect. The Bepi Colombo mission. I don't know if that's
That's
related.
a great term.
That could be a TV show, Colombo. I always will like that a lot. Bepi Colombo.
Hippie Colombo.
It's going to make the first of 6 flybys using the planet's gravity to slow down. That's why it's going
As
to
it
take so
passes
long.
by Mercury down to an altitude of 200 kilometers, 125 miles, which is lower than what the space shuttle
That's
flies.
that's closer.
The spacecraft will gather its first data and images before zooming off again.
Well, this is really cool.
Very cool.
So they're using the concept of swinging by a planet.
Yeah.
In this case, they want to slow down, and it says
Flying once past the Earth, twice past Venus on its journey to the innermost planet. So instead of having a giant rocket with an enormous amount of fuel, you've got a smaller rocket with smaller amount of fuel. That makes the mission much cheaper, and yet you get to do some more science along the way.
yeah. The cool thing is that as it's swinging past, it's going to be collecting data along the way.
Yep.
Those are
Very nice.
great concepts. All right, so I thought now this one is about triple.
Oh, wait. It says the mission is named after the Italian scientist Giuseppe Bepi Colombo, who is credited with helping develop the gravity assist maneuver
Oh, wow.
that NASA's Mariner 10 first used when it flew to Mercury in 1974.
Nice job.
Nicely done with the name. Excellent.
Your mother named you Giuseppe Beppi. That's
Giuseppe Beppi.
Giuseppe Beppi Colombo.
Colombo. I like
Just
it.
rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it?
It does.
Now, this is a cool story from the, I'm thinking this is UNLV, wait a minute, University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Oh.
That's where you can see the stars there, but in this case.
You can't see any stars there.
No, you can't because of the light pollution. So we're looking at this image of GW Orionis, a triple star system with a mysterious gap in its something surrounding. We'll read down further.
It says, unlike our solar system, which consists of a solitary star, it is believed that half of all star systems like GW Orionis, where astronomers observe the novel phenomenon, consist of two or more stars that are gravitationally bound to each other.
Yeah, that's.
But no planet orbiting three stars, a circum triple orbit, has ever been discovered, perhaps until now. I believe the term is wrong.
Wait, wrong?
It turns
What are the
out
odds in Las Vegas? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, the odds. What are the odds that you're wrong? Yeah. So it turns out that the closest star to our sun and the solar system is the star Proxima Centauri. Proxima Centauri is part of a triple star system, the Alpha Centauri star system. You've got two stars, the main big stars.
Yeah.
There's Alpha Centauri A, slightly larger than our sun, Alpha Centauri B, slightly smaller than our sun. They are closely orbiting each other, but further away, a small fraction of a light year away, is believed to be Proxima Centauri that orbits those two stars.
So that system
because
is
it's a much smaller star. So it's a triple star system.
And they've discovered exoplanets, right?
They've discovered at least one exoplanet around Proxima Centauri within just the last couple of years.
You know what I say to those guys in Las Vegas? Yeah.
No, what you say is snake eyes.
Oh my
goodness.
goodness.
You rolled wrong, guys. No, don't. If you're supposed to be the experts, why is some guy on a radio show saying, no, you're wrong? Yeah. Come on.
That's probably because you didn't get all the free drinks and food.
I did not get the free drinks.
You know what? Some places have free shrimp.
There was no lobster.
No, oh my gosh. Oh. Now, the other thing that is cool about this, I love it when we're using...
So we know of two triple star systems that have worlds now.
Now here's the part that was probably more interesting, and it's talking about the Atacama Large Millimeter Submillimeter Array, and on and on. It says they observed dust rings and which they are critical, but they found a substantial yet puzzling
gap in the dust rings.
So part of what they're talking about is I like this. It says they found that what they thought was probably the explanation for the space is the presence of one or more Jupiter-like, massive planets, gas giants, within the system that are, part of that whole thing. So, anyway, this is.
So is this a fairly new star system? Is that what they're thinking?
I don't know. It must be because they are basically talking about a lot of the analysis being based on, still a large gas or dust clouds.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Anyway, so
right,
very cool.
We'll need to do some research on this.
When you get your monthly notice from the Royal Astronomical Society, suggests that this could be the first circum-triple planet ever discovered. Now they can't actually see it. That's the whole point. Is they're basing it on this gap that they feel is a large Jupiter-like planet in there. Anyway, very cool stuff. And hey, look, a lot of times people claim things that are.
Well, but if you're...
You got to push back. That's what I got to say.
But if you're
employed
doing this kind of work, you should know about the other things going on.
Yeah. Well, and the only thing I would say is that it looks like they're talking about a close, like a closely... Sure. Talking about stuff that people aren't sure on. This is kind of the latest thing on the Havana syndrome. Now, I actually was looking for the latest story because I just saw this past week where the Biden administration and the CIA, they're going to put out, they're going to put a bunch of things in place to investigate this Havana syndrome. The most important of which I remember was that they're going to now make it possible for everybody before they're being deployed, will have a baseline analysis of their brain. They're going to do these precise
Before
brain structures,
they go in.
so that if anybody
Okay.
anybody seems to have been in the so-called Havana syndrome situation, they're going to be able to go back and determine, well, is there any damage, or are there changes to brain structures, on and on and on. Now, the reason why I put this story up, when I first saw this, I saw it's one of these things where all of a sudden everybody's going, oh, hey, wait a minute, the State Department hasn't declassified this, but way back they decided that microwaves didn't cause it because of this particular story. Now,
Says-
I don't find it completely compelling, but go ahead.
Noises linked to mysterious injuries among U.S. diplomats in Cuba were most likely caused by crickets, not microwave weapons, according to a declassified.
Well, and see, now when I first
That's
read that,
weird.
well, my first reading that, I was thinking, okay, well, so this happened at the same time when people were hearing this sound, and now you've said, oh, well, the sound was the crickets, but you're not going to have a sound of microwave energy, of course.
No.
It would almost be like, I'm thinking, if somebody who was a sniper only shot out windows when the train went by.
Right.
You'd go,
Yeah, you'd go,
well, he was doing that so you wouldn't hear him shooting.
so you wouldn't hear the shot. Right.
But anyway, this was written. The reason why this is interesting is because I thought this is like the latest news, right? The latest
Right.
news is that, oh, they're saying it was just crickets. But if you read this, it says the report was written by the advisory group, an elite scientific board that reviewed the security concerns about the Cold War. And this was done in 2018.
2018, 2 years after dozens of U.S. diplomats in Cuba and their family reported hearing
Buzzing noise,
noises
and
then experiencing puzzling neurological injuries, including pain, vertigo, and difficulty concentrating.
Now, the part about the story that just makes me kind of crazy is that it's almost like, now this is a whole thing saying, oh, look, see, it was crickets all along.
I don't think it was crickets.
When in fact, there's also, they're saying no plausible single source, and again, there's my point about the plasma.
Yeah.
And energy, neither radio or microwaves nor sonic can produce both the recorded audio video signals and the reported medical effects. So they're putting a whole bunch of complicated.
It's very complicated.
We believe that the recorded sounds are mechanical or biological in origin rather than electronic. The most likely source is the Indies short-tailed cricket. And my whole issue with this whole story is, I always remember that there was a thing called concomitant factors.
Okay.
Concomitant factors is a short way of saying concomitant means it happened at the same time.
Right.
And the whole point was, you can't let your scientific analysis be either corroborated or denied
Just because something else happened.
Yeah, because something else was happening at the same time.
Yeah, so it would be like, well, my Mars is in my house of Venus, so,
well,
everything should be okay. You're like, that has nothing to do with reality.
Well, and the other thing about it is that, of course, would make perfect sense is that if in fact you were going to deploy something, you would want to divert or distract, or you would want to confuse it or camouflage it, And so the idea that this story is almost going to make, it's like, well, for example, it says on Tuesday, the U.S. House of Representatives voted 427-0 to pass the Havana Act bill, which will provide funding for the CIA and State Department personnel affected, and also to provide research and baseline analysis of brain structure. It says department personnel with the microwave weapons, and attributed this view. A lot of people they still think it is some sort of a directed beam or microwave or who knows what else. But this focusing on just the sound is like, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is a
that
perfect
has
distraction.
Nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, and it's really funny. It says this puts to rest the microwave attack theory. I don't see how it does it.
No, it does not. It says the review ruled out pulse microwaves and ultrasound as culprits, in part because the Wi-Fi and other electronics in the house where the noises were first recorded worked fine during the instrument.
See, that doesn't matter. The idea
Ultrasound is not going to mess up your electronics.
that's almost like saying, well, you know, I took a blue light and shone it through the red light, and it didn't change anything.
And it didn't change it a bit. You're like, okay,
Okay,
you're
guys,
right.
you need to go back to your physics list. So, okay, anyway, the long story short of this is I'm thinking this is kind of one of these big things going, oh, see, they were withholding information.
Boy, this is a long article.
And according to this, it
It's-
says what is available in the report, and that's the report done in 2018 where they were just talking about the sound, is dubious about directed energy weapons and positive about crickets. When in fact
cares?
there are still people who think that it was. Of course, the other thing they're thinking it's like mass psychology, like everybody's seeing UFOs because people said there were UFOs.
Well, okay, maybe
Psychogenic effects.
Maybe,
Well, there is
but-
truth to that. I mean, I
Sure,
understand that.
Sure,
but-
but at the same time, there are people that are actually ill.
Yeah, if you're going to deny, that was the big issue that was the problem early on, was they denied that it was even a problem. Let me show
And
you
it's
where we
not the
are in
crickets.
our,
I don't think it's the crickets.
oh my gosh, we're almost finished.
Yes, we are. I'm
Well,
sorry.
hey, I'll see you, no problem. See you next week.
Oops, sorry.